Energetic locks, the bandhas. Breath retention is often accompanied by yogic muscular locks called bandhas. A bandha is a type of energetic gait that regulates the flow of energy. Bandhas became very popular with certain yoga practices like Ashtanga Vinyasa, Baptiste Yoga, and Power Yoga. This gave rise to the invention of many new non-traditional bandhas like Astabandha, hand lock, and Parabandha, foot lock. Traditionally, as taught in the ancient yoga literature, there are just 4 bandhas, with the fourth, the Maha, Great Bandha, being the combination of the other 3 bandhas practiced together. Bandha means to bind or lock, as in to prevent movement. I think the majority of yoga practitioners have greatly misunderstood the energetic and physical aspects of the bandhas, and it makes sense. Very little is written in the ancient text about how the bandhas work. In the Hatha Yoga Pradipika, bandhas are meant to act like safety valves in the human system. Anyone who looks to these ancient texts for explanations of what does what and why is most likely going to find rhetorical claims of the bandhas doing magical things like, "He who constantly practices Udayana Bandha as taught by his guru and as occurs in the natural way becomes young though he may be old," as stated in the Hatha Yoga Pradipika. And while we see postulations like this relating to what the many practices of yoga can do, we shouldn't discount the value of the practice or the ancient wisdom that has allowed them to endure for so long. I do believe that the bandhas have the ability to regulate and control the flow of energy. There are also several physiological benefits to be gained from practicing them together with certain pranayama techniques, as you'll see later in this section. Mula Bandha, root lock. We'll start at the base with the root lock, known as Mula Bandha. Mula Bandha is used to regulate the downward flow of energy called apana and is associated with Muladhara, the root chakra. Energetically, Mula Bandha helps us feel grounded and safe. We engage Mula Bandha by lifting the muscles of the pelvic floor, specifically the levator ani, which is located around the perineum, the space between the anus and the genitals. This action is similar to a Kegel exercise and is often confused with squeezing the anus. In the physical asana practice, engaging Mula Bandha is sometimes taught as a way to stabilize the pelvis and core. Personally, I don't find any advantages to lifting my pelvic floor while practicing, although maybe it does help some practitioners. Mula Bandha is connected to the other 2 bandhas through a continuous line of muscle and fascia known as the deep front line. Many actions and movements create some synergistic engagement of the pelvic floor muscles. For certain types of pelvic floor dysfunctions, as well as for women who recently gave birth or are about to, exercising the Mula Bandha can be beneficial for strengthening the pelvic floor, especially if it is weak. However, continuously engaging Mula Bandha for an hour or more a day for months or years can create lots of problems for most people, especially women. Chronically squeezing the pelvic floor creates overly strong and overly tight muscles. While strength and tightness might not be a problem when it comes to the gluteal muscles, they definitely can be when it comes to the pelvic floor. I had an anatomy teacher who referred to the pelvic floor as the pelvic funnel because it's more like a funnel with things passing through it. Therefore, we want these muscles to be supple and elastic. A tight pelvic floor can lead to constipation, hemorrhoids, difficulty or pain with urinating, lower back pain, pain during sex, and severe complications during childbirth. I have a student who was a serious Ashtanga Vinyasa practitioner for years and would engage in Mula Bandha every day during her yoga practice. Because of her overly tight pelvic floor, several muscles in her pelvic floor tore during childbirth, causing debilitating problems and chronic pelvic pain. She is even part of a support group with several other women who had the same complications during labor due to practicing Mula Bandha. The purpose of providing this information is not to say that Mula Bandha is bad or good. I am saying it's not appropriate or necessary for everyone and should be practiced cautiously with an understanding of why you are practicing it and the effects that your method of practice has on the body. When approaching any practice, we should be aware of the different ways it is taught and utilized and why, along with all the potential effects. Mula Bandha is generally taught very differently with pranayama than it is with asana. In pranayama, Mula Bandha is used as the seat of the inhalation to create an energetic anchor as the energy flows upward. During puraka, the practitioner gently engages Mula Bandha and releases it during rachaka to allow the apana energy to release freely. It's important to note that Mula Bandha is not engaged the entire time, as it is often taught during an asana class. During the breath sequences covered in Section 5, we will not be practicing Mula Bandha. However, as we engage Uddiyana Bandha, Mula Bandha might also engage slightly because they are fascially connected. Uddiyana Bandha, abdominal lock. Uddiyana Bandha is the abdominal lock. It is sometimes called the upward flying lock because Uddiyana means to rise upward or to fly up. However, I think it should be called the vacuum lock because of how the bandha is engaged. Energetically, Uddiyana Bandha is related to Udana Vayu and helps regulate energy traveling up the center channel of the body. It is also related to the third chakra, Manipura, which is the center of our power, will, vitality, and Anji, inner fire, with which we can increase by practicing this lock. Physically, Uddiyana Bandha works to strengthen our deep core muscles and diaphragm, helps with gastric motility, stimulates the visceral organs, and moves lymph fluid, which helps remove toxins and strengthen the immune system. Note: because of the strong internal pressure Uddiyana Bandha places on the organs, you shouldn't practice Uddiyana Bandha if you are pregnant or have severe gastrointestinal problems. This bandha can be engaged in almost any position. However, it's easiest to learn from a kneeling or standing tripod position where we place our hands on our knees and lean forward with a neutral spine. This position allows gravity to help fully relax the stomach, making it easier to expand our ribcage to get the maximum lift and engagement from the bandha. To perform Uddiyana Bandha, exhale completely and hold the breath. Lift your belly inward and upward as you pull your navel towards your spine. Try to inhale with empty lungs without drawing air in, which creates suction. The diaphragm contracts and the ribcage expands, but because the internal pressure is lower and no air is coming in to equalize the pressure, the stomach is sucked inwards. The result is similar to what it's like when we suck in our cheeks to make a fish face. Uddiyana Bandha is almost always practiced with Jadalahara Bandha because Jadalahara Bandha helps reduce the pressure felt in the throat. During pranayama, Uddiyana Bandha is always practiced during Baya Kumbhaka, outer retention, which is essential for being able to do the lock. Some yoga teachers teach this bandha during asana while breathing, but in this case, Uddiyana Bandha really just refers to the way the belly is pulled in and shouldn't be confused with the pranayama practices we will do. Jandalahara Bandha, throat lock. Jandalahara Bandha is the throat lock. Jal means net, and dar is the flow of ambrosia, referring to controlling the flow of energy rising up the nadis. Jandalahara is linked with the throat chakra, Vishuddhu, which has to do with expression, purification, and communication. Jandalahara works to stimulate the vagus nerve, which controls the parasympathetic nervous system. Using Jandalahara Bandha with Uddiyana Bandha increases vagal tone. The synergy between these two locks works with Baya Kumbhaka to lower blood pressure and heart rate and create a deep calming state. To engage Jadalahara Bandha, tuck your chin towards your chest, lengthen the back of your neck, and contract your throat as though you are swallowing. This bandha can also be used with Antara Kumbhaka. However, I find it most helpful when holding Baya Kumbhaka, Uddiyana Bandha, and other practices where we increase internal thoracic pressure without inhaling, like Anganisar Pranayama.